You don't have to give up dessert to be healthy in your 60s. In fact, denying yourself completely often backfires, leading to a binge later on. In this video, we are going to make decadent, sweet treats that are actually low in sugar and nutritionist approved. Life is too short to skip dessert. We will start with a creamy pudding that requires zero cooking. Then, a frozen treat that rivals your favorite ice cream. And finally, the secret ingredient that makes baking healthier. Here is how to indulge intelligently. Most of us have a complicated relationship with sugar. We grew up in an era of diet sodas and fat-free cookies that were actually loaded with hidden sweeteners. Now, as we navigate our 50s, 60s, and beyond, our bodies handle glucose differently. You might notice that a cookie you could eat 10 years ago now makes you feel sluggish or foggy for hours. That is your insulin sensitivity changing, and it is a completely normal part of aging. But it does not mean the end of food joy. It just means we need to upgrade our ingredients. The goal here isn't to trick your brain with chemical substitutes. The goal is to use real, whole foods that satisfy your palate while nourishing your body. When we eat sweets that also contain fiber and healthy fats, we slow down the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. This prevents that sharp spike and the inevitable crash that follows. You get the enjoyment without the jittery aftermath. Let's start with a dessert that has taken the health world by storm for good reason, though many people make it incorrectly. It is the chocolate chia seed pudding. Before you roll your eyes and think about birdseed, stick with me. When prepared the right way, this has the texture of a rich tapioca or mousse. Chia seeds are incredible for women over 50 because they are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which are vital for brain health and joint lubrication. Even more importantly, they are loaded with soluble fiber. To make this, you need a simple ratio. For every 1 cup of liquid, use 3 to 4 tablespoons of chia seeds. For the liquid, I recommend an unsweetened almond milk, oat milk, or even a light coconut milk if you want extra creaminess. The magic happens when you add the flavor. Mix in 2 tablespoons of raw cacao powder. Cacao is different from the cocoa you might bake with. It is less processed and retains more magnesium. Magnesium is wonderful for relaxation and sleep, making this a perfect evening treat. Add a splash of vanilla extract and a touch of maple syrup or monk fruit sweetener. Whisk it all together vigorously. Here is the trick that most people miss. You must let it sit for 5 minutes and then whisk it again. The seeds tend to sink to the bottom immediately. By giving it that second mix, you ensure the pudding sets evenly. Pop it in the fridge for at least 2 hours, or better yet, overnight. If you have texture issues and cannot stand the little bumps of the seeds, here is a solution. Throw the entire mixture into a high-speed blender before you refrigerate it. This pulverizes the seeds and creates a silky chocolate mousse texture that feels incredibly indulgent. Top it with a few fresh raspberries or shaved dark chocolate. You are eating a dessert that supports your digestion and heart health, but it tastes like a cheat day. Now let's talk about those moments when you crave something cold and creamy, like ice cream. Traditional ice cream is high in sugar and saturated fat, which can drive up inflammation. But have you tried nice cream? This is a frozen dessert made entirely from fruit, yet it is shockingly creamy. The base is frozen bananas. When bananas freeze and are then blended, they transform into a texture almost identical to soft-serve ice cream. The key here is ripeness. You want to freeze your bananas when they are spotty and brown. That is when their natural sweetness is at its peak, so you do not need to add any sugar at all. Peel them, slice them into coins, and freeze them flat on a tray before bagging them up. When the craving hits, toss a cup of frozen banana slices into a food processor. At first, it will look crumbly, like gravel. Do not panic. Keep processing. Scrape down the sides. Suddenly, it will turn creamy and smooth. At this point, you can get creative. Add a tablespoon of natural peanut butter for protein and healthy fats. Toss in a handful of frozen strawberries for a sorbet vibe, or add a pinch of mint extract and cacao nibs for mint chocolate chip. One common concern I hear is about the sugar in bananas. While bananas do contain natural sugar, they also contain potassium, which helps regulate blood pressure, and resistant starch, which feeds good gut bacteria. Because you are eating the whole fruit with its fiber, it is metabolized differently than a spoonful of table sugar. However, if you are strictly watching your carbohydrates, you can cut the banana with frozen avocado. It sounds strange, but avocado freezes beautifully and adds a rich, buttery texture without the sugar. If you are enjoying these simple swaps so far, consider subscribing to the channel. We are building a community of women who refuse to settle for bland food just because we are getting older. We believe in vibrance, energy, and flavor at every age. Let's move on to a warm, comforting option. Sometimes you don't want cold or creamy. You want something hot that smells like home. This is where baked cinnamon apples come in. This dish mimics the filling of an apple pie, but leaves out the heavy, refined flour crust. Apples are a powerhouse for seniors. They contain pectin, a type of fiber that supports heart health. For this recipe, choose a firm apple that holds its shape, like a Granny Smith or Honeycrisp. Core them and slice them or chop them into bite-sized cubes. Toss them in a bowl with a squeeze of lemon juice to brighten the flavor. Then, coat them generously with cinnamon. Cinnamon is not just a flavor enhancer, it is a functional food. Studies suggest that cinnamon may help improve insulin sensitivity and lower blood sugar levels. It is one of the best spices you can keep in your pantry. I also like to add a pinch of nutmeg and cardamom for depth. You can bake these in the oven at 375 degrees for about 20 minutes, or you can sauté them on the stovetop with a teaspoon of coconut oil or butter. The apples will soften and release their natural juices, creating a syrup-like sauce. If you need a bit more sweetness, a drizzle of maple syrup works wonders, but often the apples are sweet enough on their own. To add some crunch, toast some chopped walnuts or pecans and sprinkle them on top. Nuts provide protein and healthy fats, which help keep you full. This warm bowl of spiced apples feels like a hug. It is perfect for a rainy afternoon or a cozy evening while watching your favorite show. Now, I promised you a secret ingredient that makes baking healthier. If you love cookies or muffins but want to avoid the blood sugar spike of white flour, you need to become friends with almond flour. Almond flour is simply finely ground blanched almonds. It is low in carbohydrates, high in fiber, and rich in vitamin E, which is great for your skin. When you bake with almond flour, you are essentially eating nuts. It creates a tender, moist crumb in baked goods. You can make a simple 3-ingredient cookie using almond flour, a little maple syrup, and vanilla. Or use it to make a crumble topping for those baked apples we just talked about. Unlike wheat flour, almond flour doesn't raise your blood sugar rapidly. It provides sustained energy. Another baking hack is to swap out oil for unsweetened applesauce. This keeps your treats moist, but significantly lowers the caloric density. This isn't about counting calories obsessively. It is about making room for nutrient-dense foods. If you swap butter for applesauce in a muffin recipe, you might lighten the load on your digestion, which tends to slow down as we age. Let's address a few common questions and objections regarding healthy sweets. A big one is cost. It is true that ingredients like almond flour, chia seeds, and maple syrup can be more expensive than white flour and sugar. However, you use far less of them. Because these foods are nutrient-dense, a small portion satisfies you. You might eat 5 or 6 regular cookies and still want more because your body is craving nutrients. But one small bowl of chia pudding or a few almond flour cookies will leave you feeling full and content. You end up buying less in the long run because you are snacking less frequently. Another objection is the weird taste of natural sweeteners. If you are used to white sugar, stevia or monk fruit can taste bitter or metallic. The trick is to buy blends or to mix them. I often use a tiny bit of real maple syrup mixed with stevia. The real sugar masks the aftertaste of the stevia, while the stevia boosts the sweetness without adding extra calories. It is about finding the balance that works for your palate. Living alone or cooking for 2 is another challenge. You might not want to bake a whole batch of 12 muffins. The beauty of the recipes I shared today is that they are easily scalable. You can make a single serving of chia pudding in a small jar. You can freeze just 1 banana for 1 bowl of nice cream. You can bake just 1 apple. There is no waste and there are no leftovers tempting you from the kitchen counter all week. It is also important to talk about the psychology of the treat. Often we eat dessert not because we are hungry, but because we are bored, stressed, or seeking a transition from the busy day to the relaxing evening. Before you grab a snack, ask yourself if you are actually hungry. Drink a glass of water first. Thirst mechanisms weaken as we get older, and dehydration often masks itself as hunger. If you drink water and still want the treat, go for it. Sit down to eat it. Do not eat standing up at the fridge. Put your dessert on a beautiful plate. Use a real spoon. Turn off the TV for a moment. When you pay attention to what you are eating, you enjoy it more, and you are likely to be satisfied with a smaller amount. Food joy is about the experience as much as the ingredients. Let's recap the pantry staples that will set you up for success. First, raw nuts like walnuts and almonds. Second, seeds like chia or flax. Third, a high-quality spice collection with cinnamon, ginger, and cardamom. Fourth, natural sweeteners like maple syrup, honey, or monk fruit. And finally, a variety of frozen fruits. With just these items, you can create hundreds of variations of healthy desserts. You might be wondering about chocolate. Is it really okay? Yes. Specifically dark chocolate. Look for bars that are 70% cocoa or higher. This ensures the sugar content is lower. Dark chocolate contains flavonoids, which are antioxidants that may help protect your cells from damage. A square or two of high-quality dark chocolate is a perfectly acceptable daily habit. It is rich, intense, and satisfying. For those of you who struggle with dairy, all the recipes I mentioned today are naturally dairy-free or easily adapted. As we age, many of us lose the enzyme needed to digest lactose properly. Switching to almond, oat, or coconut milk can reduce bloating and digestive discomfort significantly. The nice cream replaces dairy ice cream, and the chia pudding replaces yogurt or dairy-based puddings. You do not have to suffer to enjoy creamy textures. Ultimately, the key to sticking with a healthy eating plan is ensuring you do not feel deprived. Willpower is a finite resource. If you spend all day fighting your cravings, you will eventually exhaust your willpower and give in. But if you plan for a healthy, delicious treat every day, you remove the struggle. You know that you have something wonderful waiting for you, so you don't feel the need to grab the donut at the grocery store. Preparation helps. On Sunday, spend 10 minutes mixing up a few jars of chia pudding for the week. Peel a bunch of bananas and get them in the freezer. Wash your apples. When the healthy choice is the easy choice, you are far more likely to make it. We need to stop thinking of healthy food as a punishment and start thinking of it as a tool for vitality. Everything you eat is either fighting disease or feeding it. By choosing ingredients that lower inflammation and support your blood sugar, you are actively investing in your future mobility, brain health, and happiness, and you get to eat chocolate while you do it. Remember, perfection is not the goal. Consistency is. If you eat a regular piece of cake at a birthday party, enjoy it. Don't feel guilty. Just get back to your nutrient-dense favorites the next day. Your body is resilient, especially when you support it with good nutrition most of the time. I hope you give these recipes a try. Experiment with the flavors. Add lemon zest to your chia pudding. Try throwing some spinach into your mint nice cream. You won't taste it, I promise. Bake a pear instead of an apple. The kitchen is your laboratory, and you are the scientist discovering what makes your body feel best. If you found these ideas helpful, please click the like button. It helps other women find this information. And tell me in the comments, do you have a favorite healthy swap for a sweet treat? I love reading your ideas and learning from you. Food should be a source of joy, connection, and health. It shouldn't be a source of stress. Take control of your ingredients, and you take control of your health. Enjoy your dessert tonight, knowing you are doing something good for yourself. Thanks for watching, and here is to your health, your happiness, and your food joy.